I'm Chris Bussing. Welcome to my channel. It's committed to helping more people create a life of freedom and impact through success in sales and the pursuit of self-development. We've got an amazing guest today, Kristine Newell, who has crushed her numbers in sales for years and went on to become the author of The Habit of Grateful. And in February, she's launching her own company that's going to elevate the performance of corporate athletes through gratitude and a positive mindset. Today, we're going to talk about Kristine's journey from rock bottom to success and creating a life that she describes as wow. We're also going to dig into the power of gratitude, the science behind it, and her 4 habits of grateful that you can implement starting tonight to create an upward spiral in your life. Kristine, very grateful to have you on the channel. Pun intended. How you doing tonight?
I'm awesome. And thank you so much, Chris. It is a pleasure to be here. So thank you for having me.
So good to have you. And let's dig into the nitty gritty. I'd love to know your backstory. I was doing some research and you said you were a broken single mom. Can you paint a picture of your mental and emotional state and then lead us on a journey as you ascended out of that state through the power of gratitude?
Certainly. Thank you so much. I actually worked in real estate sales for the past 23 years. And for anyone that's in real estate or sales in general, firsthand how difficult it can be at times. And I'll never forget, I had a $19 million deal set to close that burned and crashed. And it was going to not only be a great commission, but it was going to save me. It was going to fix everything, right? I was going to fix, not only financially myself, but, my broken marriage and everything. It was just going to save everything. So the day that I got the call that deal was dead, I have to say that was a horrible day. And in sales, I'm sure each one of you has had a day like that, right? Where you just have to up off the ground when something goes wrong for you. So back then it was 2008, 2009. And if you're familiar with the crash at that time, the market really tightened up in real estate. And when that deal didn't close, it kind of, I'd like to say it was like a tsunami. Between getting a divorce, having 3 kids, the market tightening up, being in real estate, and losing that big deal. So I went into a deep, dark depression, and I didn't want to talk to anyone. When you're in sales, that's really not good for your career.
Yeah.
And it all kind of came to a head during my butter moment, as I love to call it. And basically it was with the 3 kids. Ex-husband had moved out and was trying to figure out what to make for dinner, and realized amongst the chaos of kids and such that, I really didn't have anything in the house, that in fact, my cupboards were bare and my checking account was like nothing, which, I was doing very well prior. So I'm not really sure how it got that bad. Well, of course I know now. I was really in denial of everything in my situation. And in that moment, when I recognized I didn't even have butter, what kind of a mom doesn't have butter? I fell to the ground and I collapsed, and I kind of had a mini, I cried, I couldn't talk for like 20 minutes. And I looked up, I saw the kids kind of above me going, is she okay? What should we do? And thankfully my parents came over, and I'm very fortunate to have amazing family and friends. So I am very privileged. Even though I went through a tough time, I have a lot of support in my life. I'm very thankful for that. So, I was able after that to start to put my life back together, and it definitely took time. And I still remember shortly after having dinner with the kids and really enjoying a meal with them, I had never been so grateful for food. We had food on the table and the kids were eating, and I was like, okay, I'm getting, every day is getting a little better. I'm getting out of this horrible depression and had some good things start to happen. And in that moment, I thought, I'm so grateful for food. I'm grateful for the help I've received. And I noticed when I was grateful, I felt just a little better, just a little better. It's hard to explain, but my emotions felt a little bit more hope, I guess you could say, more hopeful. And so then I started repeating that every day in the morning. I started thinking about other things I was grateful for. And I really credit gratitude with helping to get me out of this depression. And then many things happened from there. I was able to sell my house. The market picked back up. I went back to college, finished my degree, and eventually went into executive leadership, still within sales, and really started studying gratitude. So, I'm happy to report I can buy any kind of butter I want now.
Wow. Even the fancy
Yeah,
kind? Yeah.
status symbol like butter, right? Who knew? Who knew? So,
That's amazing. And I actually went through a similar experience having a depression in the pandemic. And I also was in sales, and you're absolutely right. You can't sell anything when you don't want to talk to people. And I actually had some customers that I didn't get back to for weeks, and that was so uncharacteristic. So I appreciate your vulnerability and you sharing that moment, that butter moment, which is very memorable, where your kids were even wondering, what's going on here.
right. What's
So,
wrong now?
and I'm curious, could you describe the journey as you started to implement gratitude? Did you have any moments that were like just breakthroughs, or was it more just a gradual ascension? Sounds so dramatic, but like ascension out of the hole. Like, yeah,
I feel that it was gradual, but I know for me personally, I had to hit rock bottom to then start to climb back up, right? Like I had to have the self realization that okay, this is like every mom's worst fear, that I can't feed my kids, and I think that is probably still one of my worst fears, And so as a parent, not being able to provide in that moment, and I'm really, although in real estate and in sales, we encounter objections and failure to be a personal failure. To me, I had a lot of shame around that. I was not able to talk about that for a long time. And I think one of the revelations is the more successful people I started hanging out with, I learned that they had scars, they had failure. They were just as flawed as me. And in fact, it's kind of like a badge when you've hit rock bottom and you've made it.
yeah,
So I think each one of you, right, out there listening, you've had a failure, and don't be ashamed of it. And now to this day, some of my closest friends are CEOs of companies, right? And incredible people that are well known. And we talk a lot about the vulnerability. I've also had just people reach out to me to say, thank you for being real and sharing this. Now I don't feel so ashamed. So I guess, Chris, for me, where gratitude really even became even more of a superpower was when I stepped into my authenticity to recognize that, scars and all, I'm a gift as long as I keep giving to others. And if anyone out there is too perfect or says they've never, had a mistake or done anything wrong, people don't trust you when you're too perfect. So it was actually liberating to write the book and tell my story. And I think from that moment on, I've really never looked back. But I will say the consistency with gratitude, like the daily practice for me, has been the game changer, the consistent daily practice of gratitude.
it seems like gratitude can really open up a life of abundance. It can attract all the things we really want in terms of relationships and career success. And I kind of wanted to dig into the different pieces. One is, relationships. I told myself I had set a goal, which is so funny, to get a girlfriend this year, right? So for the people out there who are single or thinking like, like I'm trying to find love and having no luck, maybe we practically think about how gratitude can play a part in attracting something in that domain.
100%. And in the book, I tell the story of how I met my husband because I was single, at one time after my divorce with 3 kids, which that's a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
You're single with 3 kids. But it is important to attract the person that you want. And I do believe you said it the best, shifting to a positive mindset of abundance. There's more than enough for all of us, right? And that we attract, we don't chase. And I do believe if you put it out into the universe with affirmations, and also, number one, grateful people have a little spark in their eyes. They smile more because, in fact, we know that if you are grateful every single day and work on gratitude, you are happier. And there's a lot of science behind that. So I think, working on that, working on yourself first allows you to then attract what you want, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a different job, whatever it is in life that you want. I also believe having clarity of purpose and also knowing what you want and putting it out there is so crucial. A lot of times people say, I don't know what I want. Well, you have to know what you want in order to attract it. So again, having that clarity. But it's interesting with gratitude because you can be grateful every day for so many different things. So on a daily basis, I wake up and some days I'm just grateful for my dog or hot coffee or a nice shower or the sun outside or a blanket, freedom, Wi-Fi, the internet, opportunity. But every single morning, one thing I am every morning, the first thing I do when I come to consciousness is I say to myself, I am thankful that I am alive. I'm here. Today is a new day, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity in front of me. How lucky am I to be alive? And I think that, Zig Ziglar said it best. I open two gifts every day, and they are my eyes. So I think, again, starting your morning like that is a way to also shift into that positive mindset.
What is it about that particular expression? And I'd do you a disservice if I tried to repeat it back. But what is it about that expression that is, you clearly chose that to start your day, which is a big decision. So I'd love to know about that one.
I feel that, it's easy to take life for granted. On a daily basis, you have two channels that you can live on. You can live in the fear channel or the love channel. You can be a victim or you can be a player, right? Somebody out there in the world knowing that there's an abundance of things that can come to them. So victim, oh, poor me, versus no, I'm a player in this world. And I think that so many people recognize too late that time is really the most precious commodity in life. So by the first thing, waking up and acknowledging, like, I'm here, I'm alive. Wow. Like that alone is so much to be grateful for. Not if I don't even have one other gratitude, and I'm blessed, I have thousands of gratitudes every day, right? But if I just wake up and I'm so grateful to be alive, because that means I have opportunity, I can change. I can do so many things. There's so many things I still want to do. So I think stepping into your day, and especially when you are first awakening, you're coming from that sleep, state into your conscious self. You can also meditate during that time, and you're kind of like waking up gently. But for me, I've wired my brain. It just shifts me into the positive. And so my brain's like this. It's kind of like flipping that switch. And I can't say enough about it. I don't know. It just works for me.
Yeah, no, I love it. And shout out to Des and Scott for showing up live. They're really enjoying the conversation, Kristine, and it's definitely uplifting. And it's a better way to start your day, starting out with gratitude, than checking your phone
Oh,
and or like reacting. You're generating, feel good endorphins and chemicals. In fact, I don't know the science, and you do, so we should talk about that. So I got to be careful.
yeah.
But I'd love to know a little bit about the science behind gratitude. It sounds like you got into that.
Yes, what was fascinating for the book, because the book tells my personal story, but I wanted to really spend time in the science. And for a few years, I just read a lot of books and different studies, and it's pretty remarkable. Positive psychology is a huge field. It's been around for some time. But what is interesting is, there's so many correlations between our body and our mind. And we know that stress produces cortisol and physical reactions in the body. And gratitude is really the antidote to that. Because in fact, when you practice gratitude, you get the serotonin dopamine rush, the feel-good chemicals in the brain, right? That make you feel good. And studies have shown that people that say, for instance, there's, say a study where they journaled every day what they were grateful for and then wrote letters to others, appreciating them. Those folks reported incredible emotional gains. Their mental state was clear. They felt kind, happier. Even their physical state, they slept better. They were less stressed out. And it lasted, even beyond when the study ended. And that's just one small study. There's so many different studies. So, the science, it does back it up. But I think also it's like, for anyone that does a quick gratitude exercise, and if you really take note of like your emotion or your mental state, like say right now, and if you want, Chris, we could even play right now and just get into a little state of gratitude. So just take it, just if anyone's listening, I'm sure you are, but just take stock of your body, how you feel right now, your emotions. And if we just decide to spend a minute together And we're going to close our eyes. We're going to put our hands over our heart. And we're going to take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. And just one more time, deep breath in, deep breath out. And let's just take a moment to feel. We have our hands on our heart. And there are probably many things right now that you could be grateful for. But let's just think of 3 things in this moment. They can be, anything. It can be a thing, a person. Just pick the first 3 things that you're grateful for. I want you to think of them in your mind. So think of number 1, you're grateful for, and picture that thing or that person in your mind. Incredible. Okay. And then think of 2 and 3. What are you grateful for? And I want you to just pay attention to how you are feeling when you think about the blessings in your life and all that you have to be grateful for. So we can open our eyes and slowly come out of that little gratitude exercise. So Chris, how did you feel when you thought of your blessings?
I felt a peace and like a smile went on my face. And yeah, I just felt relaxed physically. Like I think going into it, I might have had a little bit of tension or in my body, and I relaxed. So it definitely felt nice.
Absolutely. And the more that you practice gratitude, even for a few minutes a day, you'll notice that feeling. I compare it to meditation in some respects, where
That's what I thought of.
yeah, just you kind of chill and you go more internal. So I think that, I say to people like, look, the science is there, but try it. Try for 30 days, just 5 minutes a day. It's really works.
I was going to ask, I was thinking, have you considered making your own meditation app, or like your voice sounds great. You could do an awesome job. Like have you thought about doing your own guided meditations, putting on YouTube?
So I have one, but yes, I will be doing more. I'm also working
Awesome.
on a gratitude tracker where you can print it out and just every day, just track, your 30 days. Because again, the benefits come from the habit of it. So, it's like
Yes.
if you do one push-up, you're not going to get buff. So it's like with gratitude, you have to do it every single day, and even 3 minutes a day. The magic for also happens not only with yourself when you work on what you're grateful for, but then when you go to step 2, which is really appreciating others and telling others that you're grateful for them and why you're grateful. That can really change your relationships. Now in sales, especially, because I know a lot of us here today are in sales, this can be a magnet to attract leads and client relationships, because we also know when someone receives gratitude from you, number 1, they feel appreciated and that they matter. And in my research, strong correlation between happiness and feeling that we matter. So you give that gift to someone, but then also they perceive you as thoughtful and kind, and they want to help you. They want to reciprocate. It's just a natural inclination. When somebody's kind to you, you want to give back to them. So in sales, especially, if you can use appreciation in your client relationships, it can dramatically increase your sales and your leads.
I also thought about appreciation to your internal team. I'm in tech sales, so I have these solution architects and these other technical resources and alliance managers. And actually, there's a big team of people that are involved in the deal. And having a good relationship with the technical folks is really important, because if they're not willing to help you out, you're screwed on your deal. Like I'm just a sales guy. And so I thought of that too. And so with customers and with the internal folks. Now, what does that look like in action? I'm kind of putting you on the spot
Mhm.
to express gratitude to a customer. Like,
Sure.
what's an example?
So there's so many different ways
Yeah,
that we can go with this.
love
So
a few maybe.
yeah, let's start with a simple handwritten note to a current client, a past client is very easy. All you say is, hey, was thinking of you, really appreciate you, hope all is well, send a nice little note card. But I think if we want to go deeper, one thing that could be great is to have a gratitude map to really look at that client experience. How many touch points of gratitude could you create during that client journey. So of
Mm.
course, the first time there's contact, that could be a note or a text or an email to simply say, I really appreciate this opportunity. Now, when you say that to someone, because let's face it, in the world, how many people really stop and say that to you? I feel it's rare to,
I think it's rare too.
yeah,
And they're more, a lot of people are trying to be slick or professional, but that sounds professional, by the way. I'm not saying that, but the point is, not many do say that, but it's really nice.
absolutely. Absolutely. Just, Chris, I really appreciate this opportunity and I'm so excited to work with you. I mean, like, just I appreciate you, right? So use that term, I appreciate you. And we want it to feel genuine, obviously, right? And I'm hoping
Yeah.
it will for you. But and then looking again at the client journey, at what different intervals could you send them a note, send them an email, appreciate them, or send them a thank you, like even a little, Starbucks gift card, or
Yes.
depending, it doesn't have to be anything expensive. But repeatedly having those touch points of gratitude are another way. And I also find that if you're going to have a stressful conversation or high stakes conversation, the easiest way to diffuse it is really with gratitude. And love the book Crucial Conversations, and gratitude's right in there. It's like, so if I'm about to have a tough conversation with you, I'm going to start out by acknowledging you, and I'm going to say right up front, like, hey Chris, our relationship is very important to me. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all you've done to facilitate this deal, and it's my goal that we work together to solve this problem because I'm so committed to you. Whatever, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
what
I
you
love
want
that.
to do is put it out there, and it can diffuse people, and just knowing that you ultimately appreciate them, because in life that is just one of the key things. Once and if you go to the opposite end, if someone doesn't appreciate you, right, or they don't say thank you, like, what do you think of that person?
Yeah, you know what? I have a dinner with the chief technology officer right after this live stream, and this is such perfect timing because he's transitioning to a new company, and we had a good partnership in the past role, and I've actually known him for 3 years now, to express gratitude. And I'm bringing him a shirt from my dad's golf club where, I know he likes golf and things, and I don't know. Do you have? I feel like you already gave me the advice, just to like express and vocalize that appreciation, the opportunity to work together, and also just to build a relationship outside of work.
Absolutely.
So, and if you have any other tips, you don't have to, by the way, because you already gave me enough. But
Oh no, I
go
have a
into
good
that
one.
right after this.
I
Yeah.
have a good one. So if I were you, I would actually write a little note to him. And because if you go a little deeper in a note, sometimes it might be harder to say. You can still say that
Yeah.
you appreciate him and everything, but if you take a little time and jot down maybe 3 things that you really recall that he helped you with, or maybe something he told you or he inspired you, and you write that in a formal note, it's so powerful.
Mm.
When you get a letter from someone, it doesn't have to be a letter. It's like a note, you know what I mean? But like 4 sentences. And you said, hey man, when you did this for me, like, you really inspired XYZ, or maybe whatever he did for you, because that's just such feel good stuff when someone does something and you tell them specifically why you appreciate him. So I think that's kind of the other piece to this. Be specific. You can say,
Yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
appreciate you, Chris, but then go into why. Why do you appreciate? What have they done for you? And I have a really cool in the book, I go through how to write a note of appreciation, and I have a ton of prompts and suggestions. So that can help you if you feel stuck. You'll have a whole note right in the book.
This is so practical and helpful, especially for us younger generations, and I'll include myself, that are getting out of touch with the handwritten note.
Mhm.
But that is an opportunity to really pattern interrupt, meaning like you can't be perceived as better if you're not perceived as different. And I don't mean better in like a conceited way, but you get where I'm going. So what a nice way to change things up. And I'm excited to implement, your thoughts here later on in dinner. And I like that you said that be very specific with gratitude. It's funny, you took the words out of my mouth because I realized that's where you were heading. You don't want to say like, oh, thanks for being awesome. But it's just like fluff. You're not sharing why. Like, I
Yeah,
really appreciate this specific quality about you, or this time when you helped me, with XYZ.
absolutely.
So Yeah, so I want to continue on the track of applying gratitude to be more successful as corporate athletes. And I'm stealing your term, by the way. So maybe I'll pause there. It seems like you think of whether it's sellers or folks in the corporate arena as corporate athletes. Could you share your thinking on that term?
Absolutely. So I want to give credit to Larry Kendall, who wrote Ninja Selling. Larry's the first one that I heard the term from. I don't know if he created it or got it somewhere else, but yeah, I mean, we're corporate athletes, right? So obviously we're not, in the playoffs right now, the NFL playoffs, but we're in our own playoffs every day. What this means is we need to be in control of our personal energy and our mindset. So have you ever met someone that had really bad energy?
Yeah, no, I mean, there was someone in my community that was out at the dog park, and I was like, I hate to say it, I was almost like, I almost wanted to yell at him or something, like, and it didn't make sense. And then, but other people were like validated, like there's something a little off.
Mm.
I ended up being a decent guy, but I'm just saying the energy was weird.
Yes. Yeah. So we as humans pick up on this, right? If
Yeah.
someone has bad energy or they're like in a horrible mood or they're a jerk, and that has effects on our relationships. So if you can be in control of your emotional energy, even if you're having a bad day, that shows that you are a corporate athlete, right? In my mind, because you show up, you're in the proper mindset, you're ready to receive, because that's huge, right? We're ready to receive, we're worthy to receive abundance from the universe, and we're in the proper mindset. So when people meet you, they're like, oh my gosh, I love Chris. What a cool guy. He's a giver. He asks questions. He was great, great energy. If people tell you great energy, what a compliment that is, because what does that even mean? It's like, that's a vibe, right? It's a good
Yeah.
vibes. So what's cool about gratitude and working on positivity and positive affirmations is then you show up ready to go, because anything else, that's baggage. Like, leave it at the door, right? You have to be able to step into a very positive mindset. And gratitude's the easiest way to get there. And if you're having a bad day, like say you're driving and somebody cuts you off and they flip you off and they're like, you have two choices there, right? That can ruin your day, or you can just stop for a minute and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to think of 3 things I'm grateful for right now. And I'm thankful for my dog, my husband, and my cool shoes I'm wearing. Right now, what you've done is you have switched your mindset into gratitude, and you'll notice all of a sudden you actually feel a little bit better, because it's impossible to feel grateful and angry at the same time. I swear to God, it's like impossible. If you really, really go to a space of gratitude, the anger melts away. So you can even use that, if you're having a bad day. And again, if you feel yourself going into that victim mindset, poor me, oh, poor me, wah, wah, wah. And look, I don't want to come across that, like that I'm not empathetic, because life is tough. And on a daily basis, each one of us is dealing with, hard things. Maybe it's a family member that's ill, or maybe there's a death in the family, or who knows, right? I don't want to minimize that, because life is full of very hard things. But I believe that by using gratitude, it can help you recover from a bad time in your life. And there is science that shows that gratitude is especially effective when you're going through something tough. In fact, it becomes your life raft. It's kind of like that spark of hope that you can grab onto. And for me, it was a life raft for a very long time, and it still is. So when we say corporate athlete, though, I do believe if you want to be at peak performance, it's so important to have your mindset straight.
Yeah, it is so important. Is there a difference between intentional gratitude and a positive mindset? I assume they're intertwined, but is there a technical distinction between the two?
Yeah. So in terms of like mindset or positive energy, if you drew, like an X or a cross rather, and
Yeah.
you have positive and negative, right? So on the positive side, you can be in high positive or low positive, and on the negative side, same. And so high positive is when, you have that big presentation, you got to bring it, right? It's like Tom
Yeah.
Brady's running out in the field. He's in that high positive, let's go quadrant. But you can't live there all the time. It's exhausting. So most of us are going to live in the low positive, where we're very positive, but again, we're not this like crazy high energy, like run into the room. Like, ah. And on the other side of the spectrum, high negative, those are people that are totally miserable, right? And misery loves company. And then there's low, maybe in the low negative as well. So you can do so much research on energy quadrants, and real athletes study this stuff. We know games like golf. I mean, it's all about mindset, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Probably more than technical skill in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
So being in a positive mindset to me means you're in that positive quadrant. And sometimes you can ask yourself, like, on this chart, where am I today? And how do I get over here? In addition to gratitude, you can do things like listen to music, go for a walk, dance, like you can do stuff like that to get
Yep.
into that positive side if you're feeling a little down in the dumps. But asking yourself, where are you on that quadrant? And then to me, intentional gratitude is just, making it a habit and, doing the same thing. So for example, I wake up every day, as I mentioned, I say to myself, I'm grateful to be alive. Then I do my gratitude journaling as I'm having my coffee. So I write down 10 things I'm grateful for, whatever comes to mind, but I write them down every day and I sit there and I do it. So that's very intentional, right? And then I go into my positive affirmations. I have a morning routine. And then after that, I look for opportunities throughout the day to appreciate others, whether I'm just sending a text or I'm calling someone to say, hey, you popped into my mind. I really appreciate our friendship. I make sure I'm appreciating, during the day. So I think with gratitude, you could, wake up tomorrow, say your gratitudes, and then never touch that again or fall off the gratitude wagon. So I think intentional gratitude is recognizing, yes, I know there are benefits and I'm going to stick with this, just like I brush my teeth, I drink my water, and I do my gratitudes.
Yeah. So it's not like you're waiting for gratitude to land on you when it may, but you're intentional that I'm going to generate gratitude because I can by thinking of what I'm actually grateful for. So I'm glad you mentioned the specifics of being intentional and what it means to practice intentional gratitude. And I had a nuanced question for you. Just wanted to think on this together. Um, what do you feel about the difference between thinking about being grateful and being grateful intellectually and actually experiencing it? And that's pretty deep, right? But there is a difference when you truly experience gratitude, like almost like physiologically. And do you have any thoughts? Like maybe there's no right or wrong and one isn't necessarily better than the other, but I just feel free to take it away on that topic.
Absolutely. I think the more that you concentrate on it, even starting intellectually to think about it, think of, you're grateful for your dog or whatever.
Yep.
You'll
I
find that
am.
more and more, me too, I have two
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
But more and more you'll feel the emotional connection, and that can take time to connect. But you will feel the emotion. And if you start intellectually, it's okay. You're still working the brain,
yeah.
you're still activating those systems. And in time, it will feel more emotional. And some days, let's face it, some days we are more emotional than others. It all comes down to our energy and what's happening in our life. And, if an example would be if you lose someone, like say someone passes, and I think, all of us have had that experience, and we all look back and have a newfound appreciation when that person is gone, right? And that's where it probably gets more emotional for
Mm.
people versus you may have appreciated them when they were living, so that could be just an example where it can quickly go more emotional because of an event. So sometimes tied to an event, it's a pretty deep question, Chris.
Yeah. No, and I've done some work and I can tell you have too, right? Like of going into these like seminars, like personal growth and leadership and being in a part of
Mhm.
communities. And I can't help it though. My mom always said I was pretty deep since I was like a little kid. I wrote these like brooding essays and, but yeah, no, it's a great answer though. And it's just fun to talk about these topics and dig a little deeper into the nuances of
Mhm.
gratitude. And, my brain wants to go in a couple different tangents, but I'm going to land on one that's coming to me now. We all get nervous. We all can be fearful, especially in peak performance moments. It could
Mm.
be, starting the podcast and I do my intro spiel. It could be giving a speech. It could be stepping into the batter's box in the ninth inning with 2 outs, chance to win the game. How does gratitude support us and empower us in those moments of anxiousness and fear?
Absolutely. What a great question. I believe that with a practice of gratitude, you're just so well rounded, and it kind of builds up this confidence inside you because you recognize you have so many blessings. So instead of seeing the universe as a universe of scarcity, that there's not enough,
Mm,
right? Like it's a limited amount of people that can do this or whatever. Instead, you truly see the universe of abundance, that yes, it's all there. There's more than enough. And in fact, like it's yours. It's yours to take, you know? So I think it really alters your mindset to
mm,
believe, because your cup is so full of blessings, right? So think of the empty cup, I have nothing, versus so full abundance. And you don't have to be a millionaire. In fact, some of the wealthiest people like I've met in my life, they were miserable. So it's not all about that,
that's
you know.
true.
And so, but it's feeling fulfilled. So I think gratitude makes you a better performer and better in those moments. But something that Bob Berg taught me, and Bob Berg is co-author of the book The Go-Giver, and I
Yeah.
know, Chris, you've had him on.
Yeah.
One thing he taught me that really resonates is when you focus not on yourself, but on others. And so in that moment where you're about to do something, you focus on, oh, wait a minute, I'm actually here to help others. You know, I'm here to help my team. You know, I'm going to help that person. You know, it's not just for yourself. You take that focus, the anxiety off of yourself, because now
Mm,
you're helping someone else. And if you're helping someone else, typically all that other stuff goes away because you turn your attention off of yourself and onto someone else or others. So I find being a giver, you know, and focusing on others is another way to relieve that tension and anxiety. And typically people that are givers are very grateful. You just kind of, they go
mm.
hand in hand.
So being grateful for an opportunity to make a positive impact for someone else can really shift our perspective off ourselves and help us
Mhm.
show up confidently and presently in the moment. That's a great
Yeah.
insight. And it seems like, Bob Berg and the Go Giver has really shaped your, your philosophy and your approach. And I noticed that receiving is important too,
Mhm.
having read The Go Giver, and I feel like you alluded to that. And can you speak to your thoughts on, because you mentioned that as a seller, it's important to be open to receiving in addition to giving gratitude and giving appreciation. So I'd love your thoughts on, yeah, maybe like receiving gratitude, because some people might even feel uncomfortable with that.
Oh, yeah. And this is totally out of the Go Giver. So, the law of authenticity states that, you know, you are enough, that you're worthy to receive. And actually, if someone tries to give to you and you don't receive, you're denying them their ability to give.
Mm,
So if I want to, you know, buy lunch for you, Chris, and you won't let me, or you're like, oh no, I can't accept this, you've denied me to give. And giving is like what I want to do for you, right? So we have to be open to giving and allow that person. And this was a big deal for me because I was brought up to fight the person that wanted to buy lunch for me, right? Oh no, no, let me get it. And no, no, absolutely not.
yeah.
Oh my God, you know. And what I recognized was, you know, that person really wanted to buy me lunch. They wanted to do something kind, and I need to let them do that. So of course I would offer, and I still would offer, well, may I help or get the tip? And if they say, oh no, it's my pleasure, I really want to treat you, I say thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you bought me lunch. Wow. And I don't make it weird because I've just allowed them the privilege of giving. And so you have to be willing to receive. And for me personally, and perhaps for you and others, uh, I didn't feel worthy for a long time. I did not like to receive. And a lot of people struggle with this. They don't like getting
Mm.
gifts. They don't like getting praise. I mean, if someone says, you know, Chris, you are just an incredibly talented guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
right. Yeah, exactly. But really, if it's, you know, if you brush it aside and you argue and you make it weird, you say, wow, thank you so much. Right. Even though inside you're like, I
Mm,
hate compliments.
yeah. Yeah.
But it's important to receive because, you know, the universe wants you to receive. You know, I believe that. And I believe in sales, our limit is ourself, you know, especially if you are in a income commission driven business. Sky's the limit. I mean, there are a lot of people going to work and they're making their X amount an hour. That's all they're getting. But what privilege it is to be self-employed. I mean, you can make an infinite amount of money. How amazing is that? So take it, like
Mm.
take it. It's incredible. So.
I wanted to dig into the 4 habits of grateful, and it seems have a hunch we might have hit on some of them, but I did want to, before that, double click on any other insights you have around what has helped you succeed in sales. And we already talked about leveraging gratitude, and leveraging almost sounds manipulative. I got to be careful with my words here, but with the thank you notes and acknowledgement and things. But any other insights on what has helped you succeed as a seller?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, gosh,
I'm
so
sure
many.
you have a lot,
I have a lot.
so, but this is a sales, like,
Yeah.
meets personal
Yeah.
growth channel, so I
Uh-huh.
had to ask.
I would say setting goals, like big, audacious goals for me, I've always done. And I've always worked really hard to achieve the goals. And I think being a learner, a life learner, is so crucial. And living in a curious mindset just keeps giving you different tools. So I've always been a reader. I've always wanted to learn about, different viewpoints, different ways that I can improve myself. I think being authentic and, owning up to a mistake, and I've had some failures in my life. Each one of us has, but on a team, when there's a mistake, I think just saying, hey, I'm sorry, like that, this was my mistake. And, I apologize, but, owning it and then learning, because I believe there's a lesson in every failure. And that just makes us stronger. We have grit. We're resilient when we have a failure. I also now kind of, I don't fear failure as much as I used to. It used to mean like, total loss and
Mm,
destruction. Now I kind of look at failure as an opportunity to learn. So I think those would be some of my bigger takeaways. But just, at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself first. Before any client is going to want to work with you, you have to just feel 150% that you're worthy and that you're capable and that you're the best choice. And believing that can take work. But that is really authenticity. So,
mm. That's so deep, that last part, and you threw out so many good nuggets, like owning mistakes
mhm.
and setting, audacious goals. Could we unpack a little bit what the journey to, like, actually feeling like you're enough and like your number one looks like? And it seems pretty clear gratitude and coming from an abundance mindset is gonna be part of that journey, but any other insight into the work that needs to happen to get there? Like, I'm enough, I am the best choice, because that's a great place to be.
It is. It's. I don't want to sound like overconfident or like in a
Yeah.
yucky way, because I totally am not. And I feel like even in my new role, because I've left my corporate role and now I'm an entrepreneur, self-employed, and you know,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. It's like
Exciting.
2 weeks in, I'm loving it. But I do also tell people like they have choices, and that they should make the best choice. And I might not be the best choice, right? So it's like also, even though I know I'm worthy, I know I'm worth every penny, and I know I'm going to do an amazing job. I want to be cautious and never oversell myself. I learned that a long time ago, right? We never want to oversell ourselves. But I think it just, with every single thing in life, just looking at the lessons. And also, I've had the privilege to work alongside some of the top real estate agents in the country. I'm talking like in the top 100, and I've really soaked it in. I've watched them, and learned so much. So I think being a sponge, get around as many talented people that you can. And if you want to be at a certain level or go up a level up, get around the people that are doing that. Like find a way, go to an event or network, just soak it up, just try to get in the room. And you'll find more and more that the more that you're around them, you can actually, I feel you just, you're like a sponge. So, and also, there's studies that show when you look at your income, you're the direct result. Your income is a result of those that you hang out with. So, like,
Mm,
who are you hanging out with? Like, who are you talking to? Make sure you're aligning yourself with people that inspire you, that can
mm.
teach you. If you're in the room and you feel like there's no growth, well, you're not going to grow. So, I credit just some of my relationships with people in the real estate industry that have just propelled me forward because I've learned so much. But I had to ask, I had to ask, like, hey, could we have coffee? And I had to say, I really want to learn from you. Could we stay in touch? Could I shadow you? Could you share with me how you did this? Asking questions. And I do believe that's probably something, Chris, that we don't do enough of, asking questions during those conversations. And that will open up so many doors for you, because not only do people appreciate the fact you're asking questions about them, right? That goes back to Dale Carnegie, one of the best books of all time. But you will learn if you ask. But if you don't ask, you don't meet those people, you may stay more stagnant.
Speaking of asking questions, on to the next one. I'd love to dig into the 4 habits of grateful. And again, I'm assuming we might have started to hit on it, but can you take it away, walking us through each of these habits that we can implement?
Absolutely. So number 1 is daily gratitude. And that means the first thing you do when you wake up, as soon as you open your eyes, you don't go for your phone. You spend a few minutes with yourself and you say, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for today. You stop there and you really think about that for a few minutes. And then as you're starting your day, grab a journal, just a blank piece of paper, and write down like 10 things you're grateful for. And they can be anything. Do that every single day for 30 days. You will then have a true habit of gratitude. You will see benefits in it. So that's habit number 1. Habit number 2 is to be the sunshine. And that means as your day progresses, you're going to look for opportunities to say the words, I appreciate you. Okay. That's if you're buying your coffee at Starbucks, you're getting, every time I get into an Uber, I say to the driver, even if they don't want to talk to me or whatever, they're on the phone, I say, hey, I really appreciate you. Thank you. And they're like, wow, because they're driving like how many people a day, but I just said to them, or I'll say, that was a great job. Like, you got me there in time and it was great. And I really appreciate you. Thank you. And they're like, wow.
I need to be better about that, honestly. Sometimes I'm in a cranky mood, especially if I haven't had my coffee yet. So that's a good one I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just anybody you're meeting, just appreciate them. So being the sunshine, that's very important. And then writing notes of gratitude has been huge for me. And if you're in sales, this is a must. You really need to just be writing little notes, to anyone you meet, past clients, shoot them a note, put your card in there. Get better about that. You can do 1 a day, or I like to sit and do them all like once a week. On the weekend, I'll sit and just get out a bunch. So get those notes of gratitude out there. Be specific in your gratitude. Very, very important. Yep. Number 4 is commit. So gratitude is a vitamin. If you take one, it's not going to work. You really have to do it every single day and be very intentional with your gratitude. And in the book, I have a gratitude contract that you can sign with yourself. And you can, use a gratitude tracker. Bob Berg, we were talking about Bob. I know that he would take a sticky note to say, like, be grateful. And he put them everywhere when he was doing his 30-day gratitude challenge. So, you're brushing your teeth, use sticky, if you need little reminders. But yeah, try it for 30 days and you will be very amazed at how your perspective may change.
So guys, I've linked the book in the description of this video. I definitely encourage you to check it out. And Kristine, I'd love to know your thoughts on the book and your experience writing it. It's such a huge accomplishment to write a book. Like, man, like I'm sure I haven't written one yet, but it takes so much, and I'm sure it was a labor of love. So could you talk about like maybe your experience creating it, and then maybe some of your favorite aspects of the book?
Thank you so much. So I love how you said you haven't written a book yet. So do you have a life list, Chris, of things that you want to do?
I definitely have a list of things that I want to do. And I feel like, yeah, like one of them is be a professional speaker, be an author. I've got some goals this year to launch a course in Q1, which I'm working on. And so there's a spectrum of goals. Yeah. And then obviously find the love of my life too.
Yeah, well, that's an important one.
That's actually the most important one. And
Do you have a list, by the way? A list of who you want to attract?
Like of the qualities, I did write them down. Yeah, there's some funny ones on there, some serious ones, and yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I have that little bubble thing. Okay.
I think it might have been someone from the audience,
Cool,
and
cool.
it might be, I don't know if it was Des, but I lost the chat because we had a couple of people go chatting, and I hit something, so now I can't see it. So I'm
Okay.
sorry. But anyways, back
Um,
over to you.
Well, on the person you want to attract into your life, you need to have a list and be very specific in the qualities that you want and write that
Yeah,
down. So I just wanted to make sure, because I'm a believer in being clear on what you want.
I
So
appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. So what was the question? I got so excited about you finding the book.
Yeah, just
Oh, the writing the book. The writing the book. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
the book and like
Yeah,
what your experience, and then also the aspects of the book that you love the most.
thank you. Okay. So the reason I asked about the life list was writing a book has been on my life list, and I've always considered myself a writer, and so writing's always been a hobby. I write mostly fiction, and so a friend of mine was embarking on this journey, Trish Yon. She wrote a great book called Pivotry, and she encouraged me to take the journey with her. And she was enrolled in a course. They help you write. They help you to stay on track to write the book.
Cool.
New to Great Press. So I took the course while I had my full-time gig, which was a lot. And so even though it took me a year and a half, it was just a very exciting project. I believe that having a side interest, side hustle, whatever you want to call it, I think it's really crucial for yourself to have another passion. And I love finishing a project. So it was definitely, it was fun to write, but a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's interesting when you finally finish your book. They say to you, like, you did it. So many people want to write a book, and you actually did it. And so there were some moments where, like, I had the book, and I was like,
it's a pretty book. I love the
Thank
the
you.
cover.
Thank you. So yeah, a lot of moments where I was like, I did it.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I heard just like less than maybe 1% of people complete books. That
right.
it is like such a accomplishment, So,
It was
anyways,
cool. It was cool. But by the time you're done with it, like, you never want to read it again because you go through it so
really,
many times. I think for me, my favorite part in the book was the ending. And I was obsessing about the ending. I did not have a good ending. And I did an exercise with a coach where they had me go back to the old me, to that butter me, the one that
yeah,
didn't have butter, and really to interact. And it was an exercise that profoundly impacted me. And that's how I ended the book, kind of like with that exercise and tying it into sunset. So in Southwest Florida, everyone watches sunset. It's a
yep.
thing. Like, you go to
It
the
goes
beach.
in the ocean.
Yeah,
Do you
exactly.
guys clap for it in Sarasota? Because in
Yes.
Naples,
Yeah.
Florida, we clap for
We
it. Yeah,
clap after it goes down,
yeah,
and
so
people,
funny.
coolers, but it's like a thing. It's like going to the fireworks or a baseball game. Like,
Yeah,
you go watch a sunset. And I think there's so many parallels for when that sun goes down, how gorgeous it is over the water and the different colors and the beauty of another day gone. But tomorrow the sun's going to rise again. And the gratitude just for me was profound in that moment. So I love that last chapter, and that's my favorite one to read to anyone. And for me, that is my favorite part of the entire book. So yeah, it was a labor of love. I am working on another book. I'm really
cool.
excited about that. But yeah, this one, yeah, I'm proud of it. So
Is the new book tied to gratitude, or is it a different theme? I don't know if you can share, or if you're in stealth mode, like a stealth startup.
no, I can share. So the new book is fiction with a message. So it is a fiction book. However, it's a lot about life's purpose and kind of that reckoning. So it's the story of family, but really, again, with a message. So it's been really exciting, and I can't wait to finish it. It's fun.
Yeah, and Des, who should be here still, who's been partnering with me on my journey, building what I'm calling busing ventures in my course and everything. She's working on writing a book, and so what a like awesome opportunity to be inspired by someone like you who got number 1 done and now is working on number 2. So
Mhm.
shout out to Des and your future book and books that you're going to write going forward. We don't have a whole lot of time, but I wanted to ask you about the company you're launching. And first off, what it was like leaping into the unknown to start your entrepreneurial journey. Because I think that's something a lot of us dream of. And a lot of folks that get into sales use it as a vehicle to launch into entrepreneurship. So what was that launch like? And then I probably wanted to end the conversation talking about, what you're building and kind of your vision for the future. So what was that launch like, and how do you feel?
Yeah, it was a big move. I mean, I sold real estate for a long time. So I was an entrepreneur, but that was, about 12 years ago. So for the last 12 years, I've been in executive leadership as a manager, regional manager, SVP for a really large company. And I think walking away from that was a very difficult decision. I feel like I was kind of recruited in a way by the universe. As one of my friends told me, one of my friends is a coach, and he's like, "You were recruited by the universe." I thought that
Love
was kind
that.
of cool. But I mean, it was not an easy decision, but I feel like for any of us that are like cursed with imagination and creativity, I feel like I'm actually writing an essay about it that'll be in my blog post soon when everything launches. But it's almost like all of a sudden creativity was like this showgirl, like dancing on the table, like la la la, like come with me, like you can do this. And I wanted to just unsee that, like no, no, no. And then every time I turn around, there she was in her feathers saying, like, come with me, you can do this. And So I feel that it just was this calling, to march to the beat of my own, band, chorus girl, whatever you want to call it. And that's how creativity can kind of work. It can creep into everyday life and steal you away. But I do believe that I'm just at a point where I want to help others in a broader sense. And so that really was what inspired me. And so far, it's been amazing. Already, I've had a lot of people reach out and ask me to work with them or how they can help. And that's been just really inspiring.
So what is your mission of the company that you're launching? And I should know the name, but what's the name? And yeah, what is the mission, your why? I'd love to get into that.
Absolutely. And thank you for asking. So it's my company. So it's just Kristine Newell.
Okay, got it.
And and basically, as a speaker and a writer and a coach, my mission is to really empower others to reach their full potential using a positive mindset. And so, some of it is coaching. I'm doing a small amount of one-on-one coaching, but I am building on a platform where people can take my online course. I have a few ones that I'm working on. Of course,
Cool.
one on gratitude is a lead magnet, and then doing more speaking engagements, which I really love, just getting out there in front of people and telling my story and sharing how easy a practice of gratitude can be and how life-changing. And then just continuing to write, just love writing. And I think it is very important every day to focus on writing. And so that's what the journey is.
I love it. Yeah, it's good to see someone who is further down the path that I want to go down. So I appreciate you inspiring me, Des, and some of the other folks who have shown up live. And to the folks who see this video as it floats out in the YouTube sea, collecting views in the future. So speaking, coaching, online course, are you doing any like consulting to like companies, or maybe that's an overlap with coaching?
Yes, I am actually. So, especially in real estate, I do have a tremendous amount of knowledge there. But I've recently done some workshops, for companies with gratitude. And it's been emotional, I will say, and it can really help transform the culture of a team to be vulnerable with each other and to talk about things like gratitude and get deep. So I think, we're also approaching an age where I do see more emotional intelligence as a skill, as a life skill. And that's very encouraging, that it's the holistic person. I think that we will see more of that. And it's my hope I can help others with emotional intelligence in the workplace.
Yeah, emotional intelligence is so important in sales. And I was talking to someone who has a consultancy working with schools, and we're talking, I think, high schools and middle school. And I'm like, man, we really need emotional intelligence being taught in the curriculum. And I'm sure like some schools are doing that, but EQ is so important. And by the way, as we wrap up, it is KristineNewell.com. Is that where
Kristine
people?
W. Newell, sorry. Kristine W. Newell. Yep.
Oh, W Newell. And so I have your website linked. So there is
Great.
a W in there,
Thank
right?
you.
Okay. And so everyone can
Thank you so
find
much.
everything. Everyone can find everything they need there, right? Like to get connected with you for speaking,
Yes.
to check out the book, all that.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we'll wrap up with any either words of encouragement or call to action for the audience as we finish the conversation.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Chris, for having me. It's just been amazing to talk to you. You are an incredible host. So thank you for all your
Thank you so
thoughtful
much.
questions.
It's so good to have you.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Again, I just feel that if you are looking for a quick, easy way, chemical free,
Yep.
to feel happier and less stressed, why not try 30 days of intentional gratitude? Just 5 minutes every morning, and then sprinkle it throughout your day and feel really good. So give it a shot. You'd be amazed at how it can really change your life, as it did me.
So grateful you're alive. 10 things you're grateful for on a piece of paper. What a great call to action. It's something I'm going to implement, and I encourage the audience to implement as well. Kristine, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to the audience for showing up. To your success in sales and in life. Happy selling and happy living. And we'll see you in the next one. See you guys.